Hi, everybody. I'm George Grant Jr., president of Saginaw Valley State University, and this is Hey Bay City.
Dr. George Grant, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. The first time I heard you speak was at the Heart of the City Awards in Saginaw, and you talked about Shakespeare. You talked about being a lover of Shakespeare, I believe.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening.
I have this bias of this belief that that Shakespeare should be taught in the schools, in the K through 12 schools, because I think it helps with thought, it helps with language, it helps with ways of thinking, and I just think it should be mandatory, but I'm also realistic.
Yeah. Did you ever perform Shakespeare?
No,
No?
it wasn't.
Okay.
It was just something that I started reading and then just kept reading. And then when I had the opportunity to go to some plays and see the words acted out on the stage, I just said, everybody needs this.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I did A Midsummer Night's Dream in high school, and I remember I think it was my senior year we did that, or senior year, and I remember initially thinking like, this is impossible. Like nobody understands this. No, like why are we wasting our time doing a play that no one is going to understand? But you're absolutely right. It stretches your brain in a different way because you're using essentially your language like it's a different language, and it does just really show you the capacity for, or the potential of, language in life and in art, and how you can communicate things in different ways. And I will remember that performance until the day I die. It was very impactful.
Well, that's the thing, that if you're learning at a young age, you might not understand everything that's being said, but you start developing this vocabulary, this language, this way of thinking and processing. And I think it helps. Yeah. I mean, someone could argue, well, when you go interview for a job, they're not going to ask you anything about Shakespeare. But as you're problem solving and you're strategizing and thinking, I think it's just a tool. I mean, it's one tool. There are other tools you need as well. But I say it's just my bias, and obviously it's not everybody's bias because it's not in a lot of the classrooms. But I wish that was one of the things that students had a chance to learn and be exposed to. I also wish that there was more opportunities after school, weekend, evening classes around math and science as well.
Yeah.
And again, not for, like, I have a grandniece, and she's 4. And I'm saying that, making sure that she understands math and she understands science, not because I want her to be an engineer. I want her to be whatever she wants to be. But what I want her to be able to do is have the power to say, I don't want to be an engineer, as opposed to someone saying you're not qualified to get into the program. That's what I want our kids to have: enough information, access, ways of talking and interacting with people, so that they can make informed decisions about what they want to do, and they can say no, as opposed to someone else telling them no.
Yeah, you're essentially giving students the power of choice. You can do it if you want to, or you cannot do it if you don't want to, as opposed to somebody or a system saying, no, you're not qualified, or no, we won't give you the tools, and you're kind of corralled into a certain path that you may or may not resonate with.
Yeah. And you have some countries where the educational system does that. It says you're going to go this way, and you're going to be here, and you're going to be over there. And what's great about being here in the United States is the fact that there is that freedom to choose. But if you don't have the information, then that freedom to choose goes away because you don't know it exists. And so if you look at students who are going to go to college and they pick 3 majors, they pick from 3 majors or 4 majors or 5 majors, that's because that's all they know. But if you know 10 majors, maybe the thing that you want to do is in that seventh major that you didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And so, how do we expand that number so that, again, I can be, as a student, I can be more informed about the decisions that I make and then go in that
Mm.
direction?
I talk about this whenever we talk about career development. One of my biggest regrets in high school is that I didn't do any kind of exploration. I wasn't exposed to it. I didn't go out and seek it out. A bunch of my friends were becoming teachers, and I thought, I guess I'll be a teacher too. I was a little compelled to it, but not in the way that a lot of people decide on of, oh, I want to be this when I grew up, and I kind of coasted into the profession. And it ended up doing great things for me. It was where I needed to be. It's part of the journey that has led me here. But had I a chance to go back, I would go and tap high school Phil on the shoulder and say, you know what? Check out 5 careers, check out 7 careers, so that when I did make a choice to become a teacher, I knew that that was my choice and that was something that I wanted to do, as opposed to something I just kind of floated into. Yeah.
And for me, it was similar to that, where I had very few choices based on the exposure that I had, and started college. But that's the power, or that can be the power of college and power of education and the power of teachers, that I had these professors that took the time to talk to me and to get, and so I went from a person saying, should I be here? Am I smart enough to be here? Should I be doing something else? To, why are these professors who are so smart and intelligent in the work that they're doing, why are they taking the time to spend with me?
Mm.
And it changed how I saw myself. Maybe I do deserve to be here. And so as I interacted with peers and talking to professors, that I got up the nerve to say, I know the profession I've chosen, but I'm seeing that there are these other professions. So I started setting up meetings with chairs of departments. I mean, just naive. I just started setting up these meetings, and every single person met with me. And from that, I ended up changing majors and finding the career path that I would not have selected if I hadn't done that. And so that's the power of educators in taking the time to interact and talk to students and let students know that they do have value and they do have worth. That's been so important to me.
I'm gonna add a layer to what you're saying, because I think what you're saying is so brilliant. I Especially in our culture, in the world today, part of the obstacle to really deciding and investing in a career is that it seems like there's so many options. You hop on the internet, you could be whatever you want, is based on what you see on social media. You could be an influencer, you could be a welder, you could walk somebody's dogs and make $100,000 a year. Like, based on all of that, it becomes really difficult to figure out what do I want to do, because it's almost information overload. It's like you're sitting at the grocery store and they've got 17 different kinds of oranges. Like, who would have thought that you'd spend more than 30 seconds thinking about an orange, but as soon as you see 17 of them, you get into this decision paralysis of like, well, what if I pick the wrong orange? Well, maybe that's the best orange, or this is the best orange, or all of these other things. And then you end up walking away, like, whatever you chose, kind of defeated, because you don't know, like, is this the right one? And so this idea of educators really providing experience and exposure and talking kids through, or letting them, well, shadow me for this day, or I can get you this internship so that you can try it out, so critical, so that you can really experience these careers before you make a decision. Otherwise, you go through 4 years of college, you end up in a career, and you wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I should have been more honest with myself. This is not what I want to do. And you can do that at the beginning as opposed to the end.
And that's true. But the other piece of that is that I think we take sometimes 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and we ask the question, or even younger, we ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
And we keep asking that question till you get to the point where you're getting ready to go to college and you're saying, all right, I got to pick something that I'm then going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm going to pick something right now at this point in time. But I'm also going to be exposed to other fields. I think that's the liberal arts education where you're learning philosophy and math and science and English and history and all of those fields. And so you start off at a point in time with the ability to expand and to move into a different direction. But with that skill set, it allows you to do that. So I started off in political science. I ended up, after having those meetings, switched to social work and took a class, and this professor, social work class, and this professor was talking about child welfare, which I knew nothing about. So foster care, adoption, children are abused and neglected, none of that. But the class so fascinated me, I took another class and another. And then talking to the professors, I switched majors. So I switched from what I originally got there to do based on the limited information that I had to something else. And where did that career lead me? I didn't know where it was going to lead me, but now I'm president of Saginaw Valley State University. That was not on my list.
Yeah.
If I put from 15 to 25 or wherever, if I gave you a list, that wasn't on there. Yeah. But those experiences that I had, knowing that what I was doing was for that moment in time, not for the rest of my life, gave me the freedom to change, to try new things, to be on committees and boards that, why are you on that committee? That has nothing to do with the profession that you chose. But that's the beauty of it. So that's why I think when students have that opportunity in college and higher education, that we can help expand those opportunities and open more doors.
Such a great encouragement, because I just interviewed 3 SVSU graduates. One became an entrepreneur, one is actually now a professor at SVSU, and then one is working in electrical engineering. And that was something that all of them said when I said, if you had to speak to somebody who's just coming into college about career choices, what is something that you would say? And every single one of them said exactly what you're saying, in that it's okay to switch majors. It's okay to experiment. It's okay to come here thinking I want to be a nurse, and then you have your first field experience and you're like, wow, nursing is absolutely not for me, but I feel really compelled to teaching kids. Pull that, like, go do that, make that switch, because it's not about making the perfect decision forever. It's about making the best decision that you can make right now. And I think that's very liberating, and that, like you said, based on my limited information, my limited experience, I think that early childhood education is the career for me. You might switch 10 years down the road, but that's not a wasted experience, because now you're developing curriculum, corporate employee curriculum, but with that teaching background, you are absolutely going to crush it. It's not a wasted opportunity.
No, it's not. That's where people get lost or stuck sometimes. And it's also family members can get stuck and lost in that, and neighbors and people in the community, because they're saying, well, why did it change? How did just do a parent orientation, and they'd say that there's a possibility that your child is going to change majors. That's okay, because as they explore and expand, they're going to find areas that maybe they didn't know existed. I said, if they change every semester, yes, that's a problem.
Yes,
but if you find that thing that excites you, but you didn't know about it, and so you can't pick it if you don't know about it, That's what we want to do. That's what our faculty and staff, our interactions, our conversations. That's the beauty of for me, Saginaw Valley is that you see faculty and staff spending the time. You see our student organizations that faculty participate in and in talking with students because they have more information and their willingness to share that information is going to help the student say, maybe that's not what I want to do, but now that I know this field exists. So I ended up in child welfare. I love being in child welfare. You know, people would say that's a tough field to be in. I felt like I was making a difference. And so I got up every morning knowing that I was going to be working with another family. I was going to be putting information together. I was going to be putting plans together. And it made a difference. And it excited me to do that every day. But like I say, it wasn't something that would have been on my list because I didn't know anything about it. No one had talked about it. It wasn't an area of study.
Right.
And there's a lot of studies, fields like that. I mean, if you look at city managers, I mean, I always say, how many people in high school say, I want to be a city manager?
Right.
It's when they get to college that they get that exposure to the field, or they graduate and they're somehow connected with it, and they say, that's what I want to do. I want to be a city manager. But yeah, there's not a lot of 10-year-olds want to be a city manager.
Yeah, I want to go administer an entire city. I just interviewed Craig Gillette, city manager over at Essexville. Was a warehouse manager and ended up with a job with Bay County, also in administration. Essexville needed a city manager, and he was becoming very engaged in the community and says, heck yeah, this is my role. And it was just amazing to see the community when that story went out, just how supportive they were of him and his vision. He didn't go to college to like city manager 101. He didn't go through that. But based on his experience, his varied experiences now inform him as a city manager in a different but important way. He's a different city manager having his experiences than if he would have got shuttled through a city manager 101 course. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and like I say, and everyone's different in their experiences that they have, but are they learners? And we always use the expression lifelong learners. Yeah. So are they're gathering information, they're understanding the field, they're talking to people. And so even him looking at, you know, who are the people that he talked to? Who are the city managers that he had contact with? What organizations does he belong to? Yep. That to help with that information, along with all of his other experiences that he's bringing. Because each of us brings ourself to whatever job we have. And it's all of those experiences, all of those contacts that we've had up until that point that helps us as we start making decisions. But hopefully we continue to grow, we continue to learn, and then we get to make new decisions and other decisions. And we also get to say, now that I know more information, I would do that differently. Or let me change, because we're moving in this path, but with this additional information, I'm open to admitting that maybe that path wasn't the correct path, and let's look at a new path.
I won't go into the full story because I've told it on the podcast before, and I don't want to bore the folks who might have heard it. But you're 1,000% right, because I'm thinking about my own experience. I used to be a 5th and 6th grade teacher here, and then moved to Saginaw to work for my brother after he started his business, and kind of stumbled into this community storytelling work. And I remember at one point thinking, like, I've wasted a lot of time in my life. The last 15 years, I'm no longer a teacher. I'm no longer doing the work I was doing for my brother. I wish I could have stumbled into this work 15 years sooner. And then one day I had posted a story, and one of my former middle school classroom parents got into the comments. Amy Wingeier, thanks Amy. She comments, she goes, "It's so great to see that you're still a teacher." And I remember sending her a message as like, hi, Amy, so good to hear from you again. You're amazing. what do you mean? And she said, you're teaching people about their communities. And that's really when the light bulb went off in my brain that said, those last 15 years weren't a waste, because now I'm approaching my role, this career, like a teacher would. Whereas if I would have gone through your traditional marketing program and graduated with marketing and communications degree, I would be approaching this work very much in that vein. Whereas now it's about education in a lot of ways. It's about teaching people who have lived in these communities for their entire lives that they've just scratched the surface of these places, and that's super exciting.
Well, I think helping support and showcase communities and the work that's being done in communities. And I think one of the areas that I've talked about is like around philanthropy. We have this different definition of philanthropy, which is a great definition of people who are supporting and giving of their resources and their time to do that. But there's other definitions of philanthropy, and that as we use those definitions as well to support our community. So the person who gets up to go to work and the car won't start and the neighbor says, "I'll take you to work." That's philanthropy. The person who can't get to work because the babysitter didn't show up and the person says, "I'll watch your kids today." That's philanthropy. And so we have all of these examples of people giving of their time and energy and resources to help others. But if it doesn't fit into a certain category, we're not as quick to recognize it. And those communities are doing great things. So how do we highlight them? So as you talk about community and the different communities and what they're doing, people are getting recognized who wouldn't normally get recognized. And how do we continue to find ways to reward, to celebrate, to highlight those individuals? The person who gets up every morning and goes out and watches all of the children go by to go to school and say, "At least on my block, nobody's messing with my kids." Yeah. That's philanthropy.
Yeah, I love that you're willing to redefine these words that we use a lot of times, but we don't necessarily acknowledge that they carry with them a certain kind of context. Like philanthropy has become a word that in a lot of environments becomes defined as rich people who have money to give away to try to help somebody. Absolutely philanthropy. 1000%, and we need that kind of philanthropy. But I love that you're also defining philanthropy at the grassroots level that doesn't require any sort of money at all. It just simply requires some kind of act of care for somebody within your community. And now you have become a philanthropist.
Yes. And one example of that at Saginaw Valley is we have the Special Olympics. So, I'm new to the university, so it was my first year seeing it. And what just warmed my heart were the number of students who volunteered. And they were with the kids all day. And what it did for that day, it gave parents the opportunity to just sit and cheer and root on their kids. I mean, you think about some kind of event and parents go and they watch their kids and root on their kids. Well, we have a lot of children that are in the Special Olympics where they need additional care. And so the parent, along with trying to root for them, are also helping them adjust to everything that's happening and all of the energy and all the lights and all the noises that are going on. And for that day, that they didn't have to do that these students were doing that. Not only is that philanthropy or volunteering, it's also helping our students in Saginaw Valley just learn how to, well, not necessarily learn how to, because they've already been doing it, but just expand their involvement in giving and caring and supporting and making a difference in people's lives. And the impact, as I talked to some students, that they never thought about the impact that they were having on the parent. They thought about how they were helping the child, but they looked at it like, this is the impact that you're having on the parents because of what you allowed them to do that day, to cheer,
Mhm.
to make noise, to stand up, to just be excited because you helped with all of the other pieces.
Mm.
That's the beauty of what our students get the opportunity to do. And of course, faculty and staff who also support and volunteer there as well. But in this case, as we're just talking about students, the ability to grow in yourself, the ability to see how you can impact someone else's life, and that, yes, you're a student, you're also a role model. You're also someone who can make a difference in someone else's life. And in this particular case, not only the person that's younger than you, but the person that's older than you. So you
Mm.
impacted the child and you impacted the parent that day.
And speaking as a parent, I'm gonna go ahead and say that in a lot of those situations, you those students may have given those parents a greater gift because but like parenting is a grind and you feel like in a lot of situations you're missing out on an experience with your child because you're trying to pack their lunch and you're trying to get them where they needed to go and you're trying to be a good employee at your job or you're trying to run a business and it's not quite and you feel like you're missing out on these really critical experiences in your child because you don't ever get to just sit and enjoy it and being able to experience that. I mean, that's got to be great. Like my kid's taken care of, things are going to go great. I can just sit here and scream my lungs off and cheer and cry and root on my child, and I get to actually be here in this moment with them, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. And that's what was so exciting. That was so touching to me to see that.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunities that we try to provide. Those opportunities can happen in other places beyond higher education, but I think it's part of that overall tapestry of things that you are exposed to with the ability, the academic part of it, the social part of it, the interaction part of it, the coming together, connecting with others
Mm.
part of it, and then the community piece.
It goes to highlight that you efforts done within the context of a community are almost never just one direct benefit. Like when you watch the kids for that person who is now going to work and they don't have to worry about a babysitter, like you are helping not only that parent, but now you're demonstrating community to those children. That here you are, the next door neighbor who is now your babysitter for the day, and now you're modeling what a true neighborhood is, what a true neighbor is. And now that person going off to work, they're having a great day at work as opposed to a terrible day at work because they're running out the door thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Like I don't like just another thing. Now they're having a good day at work. And now that employer sees them having another good day at work. And now that makes their day and their coworkers' day and it spreads. And so it's never just that one single act. Now you may never see those indirect benefits, but that's the beauty of working within a community. And something that stood out to me as I stalked you a little bit on the internet was this phrase. After you were announced to become the new president of SVSU, someone wrote that your career has been defined or has been characterized by his commitment to collaboration, inclusion, and diversity. He has a broad vision of institution and community relationships. I want to talk about the role of community within SVSU as an institution and why you think that's important and why that helps everybody, but then also SVSU's interaction with the outside community. It's not just an institution in a farm field somewhere. It's very much an institution within the context of Bay County and the rest of the region. So talk to me about community and community building and its role within SVSU as an institution.
As an institution, Saginaw Valley State University, what I love, and we're celebrating our 60th year.
Mhm.
So from a university standpoint, we're young. And but what the commitment has been is that we originally started off as a regional comprehensive university, or a regional comprehensive college, and that became a regional comprehensive university. And that definition to me says you take care of home first, then you expand out across the state, across the country, and around the world. But that there's a commitment to your community and to help make your community stronger. So with the university from the very beginning was, how do we educate the people in our region? And that region includes the thumb, includes farther north, but in our region, how do we provide a quality education that helps not just the individual, but changes their family's life, changes the community's life by the degree that they get and the work that they get to do based on that. So that was the commitment early on, and that's been the commitment. So that was one of the things that attracted me to Saginaw Valley as opposed to someplace else, was that commitment by the university to say, first, internally, how do we make sure that we have that setting, that family setting connection within, so that all of our students, no matter where they come from, that they feel valued, they feel that there's worth, and that they can make a difference. And then also to have that kind of environment for our faculty and staff, so that they see each other and support each other. So if someone's sick or someone has a family member that's sick, that people all the time, you'll say, take care of that. I'll cover for you. I got that. And so it's that relationship that makes the university strong. And if that's strong, now you can spread out. So we can do programs you can have summer programs, and they can be on the arts and sciences and math and engineering and all of those different fields. Plus we can have summer programs around athletics. All of those things that connects us to the community because it shows our commitment. And an example that I use, I say that you see where people talking about building a bridge, and they say you build a bridge from the community to the university so that people can come. I've always argued that differently. You build a bridge from the university to the community. We go out into the community. You build the relationships. You build the connections. You get a chance to know people. People get a chance to know you. So my title is president. So for a lot of people, that title is intimidating. And I'm not someone that someone's going to come up and talk to because of that. But if we build that bridge and I go out into the community, that at the end of the day, hopefully people will say, well, he was kind of nice. He's kind of like us. He wasn't mad or mean or any of those things. And if our faculty and staff are doing that, now when a question comes up, someone can say, well, I met someone at Saginaw Valley. I think we can call them and they'll help us. Now because once you build the bridge to the community, the bridge is automatically built coming back. Now people can come to the university, to the campus, to some of the events, and they feel welcomed. They feel accepted. They don't feel like, well, they're smarter than I am, so I'm not going to go there because I'm not going to feel smart. They're going to say, I feel accepted by the folks at Saginaw Valley. And so, hey, they're going to have this event going on, or this concert is happening, or this play is happening, or this workshop. Let's go. And they say, what? Because we met people there and they're really nice. That's the building of the relationship, and that's the bridge. That's why it's important to build the bridge away from campus, out to the community, instead of the other way. The other piece is building relationships with different groups and organizations, so that if you have a parent and they're trying to decide if their child should be part of something, maybe it's not the university they know well, but there's an organization that they know well, and the organization is working with the university, and the parent will feel more comfortable with their child being part of the university because they've gotten that acceptance or that cosign from the organization that's out there.
Yeah, when you said when you only have to build one bridge, that it just ignited my brain on fire, because thinking in the context of communities, you a lot of times we think, well, there's got to be the bridge from this person or this organization to this, and the government has to reach out to the citizenship, and the citizenship has to reach out. And I love your point, because what your point is, I think, is when you think that way, you're working twice as hard. You only need one bridge. And so you move into a new neighborhood. It's something like, do I bring them cookies or do they bring me cookies? Like, it doesn't matter. It's like somebody's got to bring somebody cookies so that you have a bridge, and so that you have this connection in this relationship, because that's when the magic starts. Robert Putnam, in his book Bowling Alone, talks about rebuilding social fabric, and just the importance of social capital, because that investment, that building of a bridge, that hi, that hello, oh, you're not a scary university president like I thought, that opens up so many doors to so many people. Because, for instance, let's say someone from a typically marginalized demographic, thinking college is impossible for them and their community, but their parents happen to meet you at an event somewhere, and they're like, you know what? He feels like a guy that might talk to my son, and shoot you an email, and then you do, and now all of a sudden this child, thinking college was impossible, is now enrolled in college because they think it's impossible, simply because they said hi to you once at an event. And that building of social fabric, I think we tend to overlook for the hard stuff, like making a job, making a $1.5 million investment, because that can get shown on a spreadsheet. But the magic starts before that. It's conversation, it's a laugh, it's a joke, I saw you once at this event and you were kind of a nice guy. And that's where the magic
And that's
happens.
it. And it doesn't hurt to be a nice person.
Yep.
That's the other thing. It
Doesn't cost any money.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. So to take the time to say hi, to interact, as I walk around campus and stop and talking, not just with faculty staff, but with students, just having a quick conversation and moving on. There's a connection there, and it's going to help broaden and have more connections. And that's why attending events, going to some student events and engaging and doing that, this Thursday, 31st, is our first football game. And so we're gonna have tailgate and invite a bunch of people there. And I'm gonna be there, and I'll interact with again, our students and our alumni, because it's part of who we are as a university, and that draws in that makes that connection. And then but it also makes the connection when we have something at the museum, or we have a play that's going on, or we bring a speaker in, and it's open to the community. And the part of that goal is, how do you bring people in that generally are not in this area or don't come to this area, but because we have a university here, that we're able to get people to come, and then we open it up so that people in the community can say, wow, I got the exposure to hear. I got to see this person that I would never get to wherever they're at, but they're in our community. So part of the university as well is, in that knowledge vein, is how do you bring people here so that it's open to the public, open to the community, to be exposed to that, like I say, they wouldn't get otherwise.
Yeah, you got to open the door. You can't expect people to walk through a closed door, so you got to figure out, how can we open this door, and how can we open this door for this person and this person over here. And the more open doors we have, the better chance we have of attracting them, of keeping them here, of building a strong community.
Yeah. And it's, again, working with others. So it's not something where we just have to have our name on it. We want to have multiple names on it, because people are going to connect to different people. And if that person's part of it, I'm more likely to come and hear what they have to say. There's interesting people. They're great thinkers. They're great minds. And they should be in this part of the state. And they should, wherever they are in the country or in the world, that at some point, one of their stops should be here. So Saginaw Valley is helping, not the only ones, but we're helping to bring those names, those people, those great thinkers here so that people can have access to them. But the other piece is also in our community, they're great thinkers. There are people doing great work that you don't hear a lot about. We also need to bring them in as well, because they're like, wow, you're doing that? I didn't know you were involved with that. I didn't know it was going on. I didn't know it had that kind of impact. That's also going to change, because now you have the person close to home that people may have seen or heard but didn't know a lot about, and now they get to see the kind of work that they're doing. And it's that combination of both is why I think when you talked about our roles with community internally and externally, one, we're making sure that our students and faculty and staff are getting access to those folks. And then two, we're making sure our community is getting access to those folks.
Something I want to highlight about what you said in terms of the attraction of the bringing in of people to this area. I just talked to Matt Fallon and Ken Horn from the Regional Alliance, and they've made reference that currently at any given time over the course of the school year, we've got about 50 to 60,000 college kids enrolled within the Great Lakes Bay region. A huge number of young adults looking for opportunities and eventually looking for a home, saying, is this the place for me? And all it takes is building of a bridge and exposing these kids, these young adults, to these communities, saying you don't have to go to Detroit. You don't have to go to Chicago. You don't have to go to Atlanta to get the kind of quality of life that you're looking for. We can let you experience a little bit of a taste of that while you're still enrolled in college, and that creates this open door into Bay County. Or maybe, like you said, sometimes you meet a different person and they're more for you than others. Maybe it's Saginaw County, maybe it's Midland, maybe it's Isabella, but they're all kind of here in this area. And I love that idea of really looking at SVSU as, yes, an institution for higher education, but also as a magnet and a door of opportunity for us as a community to reach in and say, Saginaw Valley State University students, here are the employers that you're looking for. Here's the kind of community that you're looking for, the kind of potential, the quality of life, all of these things, and we can give that to you right now. You don't have to move someplace else. You can just move down the road.
Yes. And we say right now, year after year after year, 50% of our graduates stay in the region. And 85% of our graduates stay in the state.
Wow.
So when you think about the Michigan Renaissance, the growing back of the state, one, you got to keep people here that are here. And then two, how do you attract people from outside of the state to the state? And so part of that is having an institution, institution for higher education that people can come to, but it's also like Saginaw Valley working with businesses in the community. So the businesses can help us as we're trying to recruit students, and we can help businesses because we're going to provide people with an education. And as people are looking to come to the area where there's a university there, that I can go and advance my degrees or get advanced degrees, or I can, the place our children can go to school. So it's that back and forth. It's not one or the other. It's all of us working together. So like with in Horn, it's that idea that we're all collaborating together. We're not in competition with each other, because our community is going to be stronger as we work together. So that's the goal. And so when you look at what the university is doing and what business are doing, that's why we talk. That's why we engage in different projects. That's why we saying, what's so good about this region? And you can list all of those things, but then you have to ask the question, but do people know it?
Yes.
And if they don't know it, it doesn't make a difference that you say you have these wonderful things.
Yes.
And that's the same with Saginaw Valley. We're a great university. Not everybody knows. So we have to continue to look at ways of showing and telling the work that we do, the impact that we have, and why this is such a great place to come to not only to get an education, but also a great place to come to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Along with this idea of building communities and building bridges into the outside community of SVSU, um, I'm interested to talk to you about this, especially because this is really your first year as president of SVSU, and I'm excited to ask you what other initiatives or what other goals or what other priorities do you have going into your new role as president?
Well, there's the internal roles and the external roles. So internally, uh, what we're doing, and a lot of people are doing, is we're making sure that we have a safe campus.
Mm.
That just that if you ask people what's my number one priority, that's my number one priority, is that we do that. And I've been said that before I got there, started that first day, and we've been expanding and putting different pieces together. Second is our mental health and wellness. We know that not just us, but around the country, that the number of students and the number of employees in general have been seeking more mental health services. So we've been working to make sure that our folks are being trained, continue to be trained, that we're providing training, providing resources, support, counseling, all of those kinds of things. Beyond those two things, because those are the two key. The next is we want to make sure that we're out there in the community, that so that people again see education as an option. We know people need some kind of training. They need some skill. So we need people to have that. And a college degree is not for everybody. So we're never pushing just get people in. You get people in who want to be in, who have the skill sets to be in, who could do well, but they just don't know it. So working all of those things we've been talking about, working in the community to make sure that that happens and that we can do that. And then looking at what are the programs. So like we know that there's a need for more engineers. So what do we need to do in working with our K through 12 schools to help students go in that direction? We know we need more social workers. There's one agency said they could hire 20 social workers today if they were available.
Yep.
And that's just one organization. So how do we increase the number? We know we need more scientists. We need more people with math skills. But the thing that we don't think about in the liberal arts and science, we need more people with philosophy skills, with history skills, with English skills, with music skills. We need those skills and talents as well, and people don't always think that they do. And I've always made it an argument. If you look at the founding fathers, this is my piece. You look at the founding fathers, and you look at the document that some people will say, other than the Bible, is the greatest document written by man. Well, if that's the case, how would that document look if the founding fathers had not had that liberal education background? What would it have looked like if they'd all had just been one thing? It's because they understood philosophy and history, and ancient history and government and all of those pieces, that they were able to put that together into a document that stands to this day. So if that document stands to this day, why would you want to have an educational system that takes away the things that the founding fathers had that made the document such a great document? It's a contradiction,
right,
to me. I don't get it. So when they say, so when you hear this argument about you don't need these liberal arts classes, you don't need that stuff to be successful, why? Because at the same time you say this is the greatest document,
right?
So that I could go on about that, but that just, it's just like, it makes no sense to me.
And I think to a certain extent, we've already kind of made another case for the liberal arts degree, in that you're trying to make the best career decision that you can right now. you don't know what's going to happen 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. And so a lot has to be said, especially in the world that we exist in right now, for a broad foundation of education, because that philosophy class, yeah, may not to you right now translate to your job as a CNA. But who knows what's going to happen after that? Who knows what that philosophy class can teach you that you can apply to your role as a CNA? You need a lot of tools in that tool belt, because you talk to most folks, and I talk to a lot of folks, the thing that you were 5 years ago very likely is not the thing that you are right now, or 10 years. I think we're transitioning away from, for a lot of us, this idea of you graduate college and then you are whatever you are in the same position for the next 45 years, and then you're done. And so building a foundation of varied experience, of varied learning, it can only benefit whatever it is that you're going into. Now, you can be intentional about that. It's not, I'm going to try to learn everything about everything. There's very specific blocks, or more blocks that are more effective than others. But the idea of that you only have to build that foundation with one kind of block, it goes back to this idea of choice. Like you want to be able to make a choice as opposed to that choice being made for you. And if you're building that foundation with only one kind of brick, like, you've made your choice, and it's going to be really, really hard to go back to square one and say, okay, it's time to rebuild into something completely different.
That's the challenge, and that's why reading, that's why podcasts, that's why getting information, and sometimes picking up something that you know very little about. I was younger, before the internet, and go to the library. And what I started doing, don't know why I started doing, what I started doing is I'd go in the library and I'd walk up and down the aisles, and I'd say, I've never heard of that author in my life. And I'd pick up one of their books. I just randomly pick the book and start reading. I've gotten exposed to so many different authors that if I hadn't done that I would have never known that they existed. But it was because I was willing to just say, I don't know who that is. I have no idea what this genre of book is, and would read it. And some you'd read more, and others you'd say, yeah, this doesn't do it for me, but I wouldn't know. And so now I can talk about books. I have an author named Ernest Gaines. Ernest Gaines is one of those authors where I was walking down the aisle, saw a few books with this name, picked one, and it was a book called A Lesson Before Dying. It is the book. I used to give so many copies of that book away to anybody that I could. They probably got sick of seeing me coming, because I always had copies of that book in my hand. But that was walking down an aisle of the library and saying, I don't know who that is, and picking the book. That's part of education, is picking the book, learning about someone that you don't know. And what does all of that help with? Critical thinking. And so as you're working in a job or moving into leadership, how do you critically think? How do you problem solve? How do you address the issues that are going on? It's that wealth of knowledge that comes from different places that will help you do that. And that's the beauty of making sure that we have that information, and students have that information, and they're exposed to it.
Absolutely. Yesterday was opening ceremonies for SVSU. Was it yesterday?
Last Thursday or Friday.
Last Thursday or Friday?
Yes.
How exciting was it for you to be sitting there, kind of looking at everybody?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was why I was there. I'm there because of the people who are on campus
Mm.
and to bring them together, to have the different events.
Yeah.
So if you're talking with, I gave the State of the University address. So to do that, the picnic that we have, the convocations that we have, all of the other programs and events that are going on, it's exciting to see the energy as students are coming back. And then today is the first day of class. And so all of this movement that's happening on campus, as you see all the thousands of students moving from place to place. In fact, it's just, you can't do anything but smile.
I see. I wanted to ask you that because this little window of time, I think, is really the first time you get to kind of see the university, because you see all the people and the kids are back on campus, and you absolutely don't strike me as a president who's going to sit in his nice office somewhere in the university, and people will see him every once in a while when he decides to come out. But you're so people focused and human centric. Man, it's just got to be thrilling and a kind of a, I don't want to say reinvigorating, but an invigorating feeling to see all of these people there on campus, and like, this is why I do this.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's not just on campus, but it's also being in the community and engaging and meeting. Like, say you first time you saw me giving a talk, being out there, interacting with people, but like I say, being on campus and seeing the students, seeing the faculty, seeing their staff, and knowing that all of this together is what Saginaw Valley is. It's this university that's there to make a difference in people's lives. And from that also to be an employer, that we're an employer, so that we're contributing to people being able to go home and do things for their family and do things for their community. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see that. So yes, I mean, I've been fortunate that whatever job I've had, I've loved. And I think some of that is the decisions I made, and some of it I think is my personality. But being here, from the day the Board of Control reached out and said, we want to offer you this position, I say I'm glad I was on the phone, because they would have seen this silly smile on my on my face. And so being on the phone, you can be cooler in your response to it.
Why, thank you for your invitation.
That's right. So I got a chance to be a little bit cool because we were on the phone.
Yeah.
I was so excited, big old smile on my face, because I knew what I was going to.
Yeah.
And from day one, it's been this place that cares. It's been this place that supports each other. It's been the place where we know that we're going to support students. It's a place where we know that parents feel comfortable about that. I had a parent in May when the student was graduating, and it was from another, it was an international student. And so the parent came for commencement. And it was talking with him, came up to me and was talking and said, I want to thank you. I really appreciate everything you've done to keep in this case, to keep my daughter safe. And she had a great time here. Her 4 years were unbelievable. She had a great education and great experiences. And then as we continued talking, he said, I got to tell you, that wasn't my original priority. So what? I wanted my daughter to get a quality education. And I looked around a bunch of different places, and I liked what I saw with Saginaw Valley. And so, that's where she ended up going to get a quality education. But I got to tell you, when I put her on that plane, and that door closed, and I knew if something happened, it was 25 hours once I got on the plane before I could get to her. Mm-hmm. Safety became my top priority, not quality education.
Yep.
And he said, so knowing that you all cared about that and cared about my daughter and worked to create an environment for her and other students to be safe, that made a difference. And I tell you, that story represents all the work that was done before I got there.
Yeah.
Not, I'm not taking, I get credit because I'm here now,
Yeah.
but I'm always the first to say that was before people started working on that before I got there.
Yeah.
But it's that commitment to making a difference, and for parents to say that. They still wanted to make sure, he still wanted to make sure his daughter got a quality education.
Uh-huh.
But once that plane door closed,
Yep.
he no longer had access to her. He was 25 hours away from the time he could get the plane and get on the plane. So that's the beauty of looking at our university, and each day when I walk in there, knowing that people care. And because they care, they're going to look out for each other. They're going to support each other. And that's what makes a difference. And so coming to Saginaw, I mean, I grew up in Michigan. So I'm originally from Michigan. So I was coming back home I was in Pennsylvania, so coming back here. But the fact that this part of the state, and seeing what it had to offer, and seeing what this university, Saginaw Valley, had to offer, and saying, I get to be part of that. So it's just, so yes, I'm the president, but I don't think about it as I'm the president. I think about it as I get to be part of this university, this academy, this institution, and the impact that it's going to have on campus and off campus.
Beautiful. I just want to thank you and the rest of everybody at SVSU for the role that you play here in Bay County, and I want to thank you specifically. I mean, you seem like the right person in the right position. I mean, whenever you're leading a community of humans, I think the best leaders start off with humans, like focusing on humanity and feelings and bridges and social fabric and all of the smiles and being like all of that, because I think that's really where everything begins, and it's so refreshing to talk to you. And then I talk to guys like John Kaczynski, who's just absolutely brilliant, and you coupled with John and everybody else just thinking really intentionally about how can SVSU fill strategic needs within this immediate community, that it's not just SVSU doing its thing and then you hope for the best, and if Bay County wants to benefit, so be it. If not, no skin off our back, but really looking and seeing how can we educate this community, how can we help them, how can we use education to enrich their lives and uplift their lives, and what kinds of needs do we see, and how can we adjust, and what kind of things can we offer. That's exciting to me, because it means that the university is living and organic and adaptable and really receptive and engaging to the community, that it's not just this 300-year-old institution that, well, they're going to keep doing their thing regardless. Like, it is very much a community educational institution, and that's amazing to me.
I appreciate that. And that first is the key, is that, so we're in our 60th year, and if you go back through those 60 years, that we're not doing what we did 60 years ago or 50 years or 40 years ago, because we continue to evolve as the world evolves, as our community evolves, and that we're in touch. Sometimes we get to lead, sometimes we walk alongside, but we're part of that change. And so we're not stuck in our ways. The things that we're stuck in our ways is we're always going to provide a quality education. We're always going to be there for our students. We're always going to be engaged in the community. So if those are stuck in our ways, we're going to be stuck in our ways there.
Yeah.
But we're going to continue to evolve to what our needs are for people in the community. So we know if housing or food insecurities or getting a quality education or helping people see the value of the changes that they can make and the impact they can have on their community and on their children and grandchildren, and the role that education can play in that. If we can do those things, that's what we're going to keep evolving to do. So we know, so like financial literacy, we in our business school. We have the faculty that are working on that and programs that are going on to deal with financial literacy. Well, because we know that there's so many people that are struggling with that. And again, if there's no training, if there's no support, then how to do it. And if a parent, if you're struggling with it, how do you teach your child? So if we can provide that not only for children, but also for adults, now as they learn to manage those resources in a way that will support the family, life starts to change. Life's still a challenge, but it gets a little bit easier because there's a better understanding. So it's those opportunities that are out there that we want to play a part of. We don't have to lead. We're not caught up in the ego of leading. We are part of a team. And so we want to help share the information and expertise that we have working with people in the community with the expertise that they have. And we bring that together, and that's how we make our community stronger. So if it's Bay and the work that we do here and the organizations that we work with and support and committees that we're part of, and then surrounding areas, it's bringing people closer together, it's sharing ideas, and it's making this region stronger, which is going to attract more businesses, going to attract more people, going to attract families, going to attract people to come here and get a college education, and it's going to make a difference in the quality of life for every single person.
Amen. It's been fantastic talking to you today, Dr. George Grant. I saw you speak, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to that guy. And you did not disappoint. I just wanted to thank you for being so generous with your time this morning, and really the work that you're going to be doing for SVSU, but not just SVSU, but really our entire community here. And I want to thank you for that. So thank you so much, Doctor.
And thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate this and get a chance to talk a little bit about our university and what Saginaw Valley is doing in our community. So thank you so much for this opportunity and for giving me the chance to just talk it with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cut. Woo! Awesome.
All right. Okay.
I'm fired up.
Okay.